Hi everybody, welcome to Kohm's Teeny Tiny Town. It is a long overdue update. It's been weeks or months really since I've uploaded anything new. So I'd like to share with you a couple of purchases. So I have been gradually building up a layout here, and I love Burlington Northern and Canadian Pacific in particular. And what I have to share with you today are a couple of BNSF units in heritage paint schemes. So these paint schemes are similar, I think, to the Great Northern Railways paint schemes. And of course, Great Northern became part of Burlington Northern, which then became part of Burlington Northern Santa Fe. So here you can see it in its glorious dark green and orange. So this is a Walthers mainline unit. So let's turn him around here. Okay, so as you can see, he's got directional lighting, and there's even a little operator here. Let's get in real close. You can see the operator just above the 1626. Now these are, mainline units are a little bit more detailed than the train line units. Now I will, I don't want to pick too many bones here, but as you can see, the lettering isn't quite perfect. There's a couple of blemishes like the B and the N and the F. You can see there's a little bit of orange where the lettering wasn't quite applied perfectly. Other than that, it has more detail than a train line unit. As I said, directional lighting. It's got some nice detail on the front end here, the railings. But again, it could use more detail. Things like those MU hoses and things like that, grab irons and so on and so forth. Now, if we kind of pull forward here, you'll see behind it, this is a train line unit, GP15. Now, really, there are only very minor differences between the train line and the main line unit. Now, interestingly enough, the paint here is much sharper. In fact, I don't see any sort of blemishes or goof-ups on the lettering there. Now there's no operator inside. You can see the odd wire in there. But other than that, it looks pretty sharp. Maybe a little less detail on the front of the unit. Okay. But again, directional lighting. And together, there isn't a huge amount of difference. Now, I was interested in the GP9 unit here because this is very similar to a unit that used to operate here in Winnipeg, where my layout is loosely based. Now it's been taken over by the Vintage Locomotive Society, which runs the Prairie Dog Central, which is an excursion rail line, and they also have a small rail services business. And this unit, very similar to the unit that is owned by Prairie Dog in the same paint scheme, just seemed to be a good fit for the layout. So in my imaginary layout, I've got two GP units, two Jeeps, and they operate around my little tiny town. Now the other thing that I wanted to share with you is my latest obsession, which are shipping containers. And as you all know, or you might not know, intermodal shipping with containers on trains, trucks, and ships. This is modern railroading right here. So now a guy who's kind of been stuck in the 80s when it comes to model railroading, but lately I've been fascinated by shipping containers. And I bought a fleet of 6 TTX 40-foot thrall rebuilt well cars. And these can take either 2 20-foot containers or a 40-foot container in the well. And of course, you can stack up to a 53-foot container on top. So the unit itself is about as long as a 50-foot boxcar. So this is just for comparison purposes. You can see about the same length, and it's a good scale for the layout. Right? So it doesn't look too out of place on the layout. It's not so large and overwhelming. So I'm gonna just pull the train forward here, and then you can see the variations in the shipping containers. Okay, and you can see the 6 cars, 40-foot cars here. Now the last 2, I've stacked up some larger containers. So on the first one here, I've stacked up a 48-foot CP Rail intermodal dry box container. And then over here, I've put a 53-foot container. So you can see the 53-foot container almost runs the length of the car, and it looks a little bit kind of precarious on top of that 40-foot container, but all in all, it adds a little bit of variation to the train, and it doesn't look too out of scale. Now, moving to the next cars, I should say that the 40-foot rebuilt thrall cars are made by Walthers mainline. Now, these last two cars, one is a 48-footer, and this is made by Intermountain, and it's not quite as heavy as the 40-footers, which are actually metal, injection molded metal. This is an injection molded plastic well car, but it tracks fairly well, and it looks just as detailed as the Walthers mainline units, also in TTX, and as you can see, it's got 48-foot containers in the well. Now, not to be outdone, of course, Rapido. Rapido makes a line of 53-foot well cars, and they are metal injection molded bodies, so they're heavy weight. They track nicely. They hold two 53-foot containers nicely. The well is 53 foot in length, but the car itself is a bit long, and it is a bit out of scale for the railroad here. So it does look a little bit awkward going around curves. So let's just give you a sense here how it looks. Now, it tracks around those curves nicely, but as you can see, it swings kind of wildly around. So all in all, very pleased with my new obsession with containers, and of course my new Walthers BNSF Heritage Jeeps. And that brings you up to date with what's been happening here on Kohm's teeny tiny town. So if you like what you see, please click like, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe, and you will be updated when new videos are uploaded to Kohm's teeny tiny town. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Take care and stay safe.